Welcome to the Nurture Pod. My name is Iris Sullivan Daire, and I am speaking with my beloved traveling friend, Ginger Edwards, on the other side of the world. This is what is the Nurture Pod? The Nurture Pod is the place where we cultivate conversation about the possible. And so we're generally kind of, checking in about the world, but really investigating the insights and yeah, yeah. What we're figuring out. Work in progress this life.
Ooh, I'll say that. You can say that again. Work in progress. Hey, Iris, it's been so long. It's so good to see you, to talk to you.
Yeah, pretty rough intro.
That's okay. I have this like fall. Well, it's the spring equinox for me. It's the fall equinox for you. There's something about this juncture, I think, of the year where it just feels like, yeah, everything has to kind of get shook out or rebalanced or something. Like I feel it. It's kind of a
Yeah.
powerful. There was like a solar eclipse and a new moon and it's a double Virgo thing because we had the second new moon in Virgo, and then and I was at Machu Picchu for the whole thing. I just
Oh
got
my
back.
God.
I know. So it was crazy big. And I think I'm just now understanding, like, I'm still integrating all of that. Like, so I'm actually pretty tired today, but it feels good to just be talking and chilling out and not running around like a crazy person for at
It's
least one day. So yeah, happy equinox to you. It
it's so
feels
good. And
really weird to be on the other side of the planet and be celebrating spring.
it's been so beautiful. I'm
Mm.
I keep moving because it's so loud, but I'm thinking the traveling. You're actually traveling, but I just need to move around a lot.
Yeah, this is okay. Pick your sunspot. For those of you who are listening on audio, Iris is moving around a lot right now. And so am I. I'm also moving around a lot in general.
I'm just moving. It's like I used to at the end of my emails, you can have like the little tagline. Mine used to be uh think microbiome. Wait, think I think it was think microbiome, act charismatic megafauna.
Whoa. Nice. We've often talked about merch. That should be part of our merch. Love it.
Oh my God. So yeah, like I yesterday for the equinox, I did a with my after school kids, we did leaf printing. And so I went on a big walk and just checked in with all these plants that I know. Like it was like, I mean, I knew which plants I wanted. So I was literally going to specific plants to go get leaves for these guys. And it was just like, wow, like just really feeling into one, how freaking amazing this world is.
Mm.
And again, like, yeah, just like how beautiful and just how quick the seasons are. Like I just feel like the summer went so fast and because I just was head down, just, you know, just really, yeah. So, and I'm in a little interim. It's a little bit
Yeah.
more openness right now, but I'm trying to, but it's not really like that's how I'm thinking of it. But actually, that it's not actually I'm not on vacation. Like I have like a lot of things I need to get done during this time because and anyway, so just thinking about that, like how I'm framing things and how I want to change how I'm framing things. And it sounds like where you're at is your mind is getting blown repeatedly
Yes.
and you're needing to like also change how the world is changing and that's
Yeah.
making you change and it's It's a work in progress.
It is definitely a work in progress. And I think maybe that what you just said is very interesting because I was talking to my sister earlier today and we kind of fell on the same theme. So this must be kind of a similar theme of the equinox where we start to look at like how much, or for me anyway, how much of my identity is wrapped up in doing stuff, like having the to-do list, like accomplishing things. And all this Virgo energy is really wrapped up with that too, like who am I if I'm not working, producing,
Mm-hmm.
having a purpose. And I have had that. And she reminded me, because she's my older sister, that ever since she's known me,
And
uh,
she's your sister, so that's
my
your
whole
whole life.
life, she's my older sister, um, that I have been someone who's very driven by like a goal, an accomplishment, a task. That's been kind of my personality. So this has been really challenging, to be drifting kind of just, and I know it in the face of that, it feels like it should be super fun and adventurous. And it is like, it really is. And yet it keep like the piece that keeps reemerging that's kind of a struggle is, but what am I doing? Like, why does this matter? Like, what's my purpose? What's my goal? Like, what am I trying to accomplish? And there's this constant drumbeat of my brain, and I really am. And then when I slow down, like I'm in this little Airbnb for a week, and purposely to slow down, it gets worse. Because if I'm moving and doing stuff and taking tours, and I'm like, I'm in it, and then I'm actually more comfortable with that, even if it's challenging. So I realize like the whole nurture culture thing comes back up. Like, do I know how to just relax, or just do I know how to just be in the moment? Because if there's anything, this point in the chakra journey I'm in, because if you haven't been listening, I'm doing this like little chakra meditation with these different powerful places on the planet, and Peru is notably kind of connected with the second chakra with this big beautiful Lake Titicaca in like southern Peru, which I was at the full moon, and now here we are in the closer to the new moon. So I realized when I was there that I got like an adjustment, like an attunement from the lake, and I went there with a lot of intention to, I don't know, just kind of make myself available to the energy that was there. And I never understand what that means really in my head, because there's no blueprint for what I'm doing. There's no map. I don't have a teacher. I'm just kind of doing it. I'm just like showing up. And my philosophy is these places are very powerful and I don't need to know. I just show up
Mm.
and I receive the energetic of the place as best I can. I try to slow down and make myself available, get out of my own way to receive. And so it was a big, beautiful full moon, also an eclipse. So we just had two big eclipses too. So let's not forget that. There's a lot of energy going on. Um, and and it was so beautiful out there. I actually stayed on this it's a really ancient civilizations, a place where people have lived on this lake, and they've lived on the lake, and they built these woven mats, kind of that float. Like they take the grasses, the rush grasses that are growing on the lake, and they weave them into these mats, and they pile them on top of each other, and they stake them down, and they produce enough flotation that they build on top of them. So they're like
Wow.
these floating villages. And I experienced the same. Interestingly, like in northern Burma, when I was there. There was a similar lake, like really old civilizations have been floating around on these kind of like floating reed mats, and it's a way that they can escape war and invaders and stuff, because they're like literally in the middle of a lake and nobody can get to them, and also that they can farm because the water has nutrients in it and they can grow like right through these reeds into the water. It's super fascinating.
Oh,
So there's
interesting.
several different cultures, on several different languages being spoken on this lake. And Lake Titty, it's written Kaka, but like it's actually pronounced haha. It's Titty haha, and it
Oh, that's
means,
even better. Oh my
I
God, I
know,
love it.
right? And what I learned it means like the gray kind of cat, or the gray like puma. And the lake is kind of like got this gray clay base. So if you look in the shallow waters, it looks like it reflects gray. And the puma is in the Quechua, which is like the Incan, Andean, um, like that's what they would call themselves. Like the Incas were actually the kings, like they were the
Ah,
nobility. The regular people were the Quechua, and they spoke the language Quechua. And then there's a bunch of other languages and other, and then the Inca, confusingly, conquered a bunch of other nations, right? So it's kind of like Rome, like they went and conquered all these other people, except when they did it, they would let them keep their languages and their gods and everything. So the Incas are actually pretty egalitarian that way. In a way, like they would include them, but they wouldn't like crush them unless they, openly resisted and fought. And then the Incas would be like, okay, well, we're going to take it. But like, if you kind of cooperate with us, you can keep your language. So on this lake, there exists many languages and cultures and gods and belief systems. And I say all this just because they all kind of reference this. The lake is like the birthplace of everything. Like it's a very powerful place, right? It's the Pachamama is the land, and then there's like another word that's for the mother of the water, and it's not coming to my brain right now, but there's another like, and this is the mother water. So it's the highest lake in the world that you can like navigate on, like with boats. So I think it's over 13,000 feet. It's really
wow.
high up there.
I can't believe it's like not, is it like frozen a lot of the time?
No, I don't think so. I think it might snow a little bit, but like we're coming out of their winter. And they don't have like, they kind of have like snow capped mountains around them, so that's where the water is coming from as it melts. But the lake itself, I don't think freezes over, but it was cold. It got down to definitely like in the low 30s when I was there, because this is their dry, like wintry season.
Mhm.
Um, so all that said, I get myself out on a boat. I figure out how to make a reservation to stay on one of these little floating islands. And it's just a guy and his wife and who built the island they're living on, and they have like two little houses on it, and they're living in one little house and I was in the other one, like their guest house. And it was super beautiful. It was like they put windows on all sides so you could just see the entire lake the whole time. And they were really kind of like, "Are you just by yourself?" Of course, it's all in Spanish, and I was like, "Yeah, solamente." And I booked 3 nights out there just to chill, just to be with the lake and meditate
Yeah.
and listen. And they kept trying to take me on tours and do stuff with me, and I'm just like, "No, I just want to have my, like, just, it's cool, I'm just gonna like relax." And they're like, "Okay." So finally they got it. They're like, "This girl just wants to relax." And they brought me food like 3 times a day, and all I had,
No kidding.
yeah, it was great. Like they had fish from the lake. I mean, it was amazing. They really fed me well, and they brought me hot water bottles at night, which is super sweet. And I know they
Oh,
were so cute. They were like a couple, and she was like full traditional, dress with the big like under skirts and everything. And I bought a beautiful weaving from her. And he worked as a fisherman, so he would go to work every day, and she would take off. They each had their own little boats, like their own little
oh
cars to
wow.
take off. And there was two cats on the island that just kind of hung out, and I get to pet them and hang out with them. But yeah, so the first day was just like, wow, I am at this incredibly high elevation, and I had come from Arequipa, which was at 2,000 feet. So just
That's a
getting like,
huge jump.
it's a huge jump, and it knocks you out. Like it just knocks your body flat. So that was part of it. Like I just didn't want to do anything because I could barely, function. I was just really tired. So but they had this really great deck outside, and it had a bed on, like an outdoor bed. And
Oh,
it was so great. So I would just lay out there and just stare at the water and all the birds. I mean, there's lots of wildlife. And on the far shore, you could see Puno, which is like a little port town, where you kind of stage everything from. And I'm just trying to set the stage for everybody, but like it was this big, beautiful full moon that was coming, and I had all my crystals with me and my little altar cloth that you gave me. I'm
oh,
still using, and my pictures of Mount Shasta and everything. And I brought some stones from Mount Shasta that I was going to offer to the lake when it felt right. And so the first day, it was really interesting. Like I got this kind of heavy energy, like, and I was like, well, I'm adjusting to climate, but it was kind of like, I don't know, it wasn't really anxiety. It was something about it though. Like the lake was challenging. It didn't feel like super like a big warm hug. It was kind of like there was a bit of a challenge to the energy coming off the space, like, and I don't know how to describe it other than it was just like, well, you've got some grief you need to deal with. You've got some stuff. Like there's some things like in your energetic, womb, because this is the womb chakra that you need to process.
Yeah.
I went to like all kinds of crazy places. Like, like I've never wanted to have kids, but all of a sudden I was like, I didn't have kids. Like I'm 51. I never
Wow.
had kids. I was like, was that a horrible mistake? Like, I mean, and that has, I mean, I really have been pretty clear with that decision my whole life. Like, never really has bothered me. And it came up. And then, of course, my whole divorce came up. And like, I mean, it's just like wave after wave of like review kind of, and it wasn't like that
Wow.
pleasant. It was like, ugh. And I realized that this chakra holds a lot of kind of like deep seated core attachment relational issues around other people and being loved and you know being accepted and community and family. And it's like it's our relational like womb chakra. It's like how we like connect to the present moment. And that's what I got, was like this was like about, like when I was at Mount Shasta, it really felt like kind of like the past. Like it's my childhood rooted. It was very peaceful, very like profoundly powerful. And this was more like active. Like it's like right now, like what are you grappling with now that's still in your energetic field, like that needs to be cleaned. It was almost like a
Oh my
cleansing that
gosh.
wanted to happen. And so I cried. I mean, there was tears, there was a lot of journaling that was really kind of angsty and teenager sounding, because it's also like it's like related to your adolescence. The root
Hmm.
chakra would be like your childhood. This would be your adolescence, which was a rough time for me in my life, and not feeling like I fit in, and knowing what I was doing, and not really feeling like I understood the culture I was in, and not liking it and wanting something different. But there was, I mean, this is the whole idea we're still grappling with right now, right? Nurture culture, because the culture,
Yes.
I mean, that I was born into, would never really feel like I fit.
Yeah.
So, and then here I am in a culture where I really don't fit. Like I'm in Peru, which is not my culture, not my language. So again, that's misfit kind of feeling. Um, and I think with Oregon and the farm and every 25-year span was me trying to create a sense of stability and like belonging and community for myself, which I did. I really loved it. And then this push to like go and find out what the next thing is. And then I'm like, yeah, that's good. And so I did all that. I sold everything. I got on the road. And I get to this lake, and it all comes back like, whoa, what am I doing? What did I just do? Because it was a huge move. And I think when I really sat with this lake, I started. So the first night was kind of rough. And that was the full moon. And I was up almost all night because the moon was so bright and it was cold. And I kept going outside and, sitting under the moon with my crystals, and then freezing to death and going back in that little bunker and like wrapping up. Um, so it wasn't until I think the second night, and this time I didn't want to sit outside. The stars were really beautiful, and I sat outside for a little bit, but it had been really clear all day, and so it was extra cold,
Hmm.
and windy. It's like windy on this lake too. It's not like incredibly still. So I was like, I don't think, because the stars are different down here, which is such a trip. Like there's all these constellations that I wasn't familiar with, which was really cool to see. And finally, I was like, all right, I'm going in. I'm gonna get sick if I sit out here and like freeze myself. And I fell asleep kind of early, and then I woke up maybe 4 in the morning, and the moon had kind of crept over my cabin and was now shining in my window. So I went to bed before it had kind of gone to the west enough for me to see it. And now this is the second night of the full moon, and it's shining, and I felt like an energetic alignment up my spine. Like it almost felt like someone was pushing on my back. And it was very powerful. It was like the lake had finally said, okay, we like received the crystals I'd given her. Like it felt like like the exchange had been made, and now I was getting the attunement. Um, and it was
Wow.
very visceral, like a palpable, like adjusting going on up from the bottom of my spine, like up my back, and very emotional. And again, like I'm not sure I have a bunch of words for it, but it felt like I felt like it was integrating me. Like there was places that it was like, okay, let's move this energy, let's shift this, and I knew that I had to go, like, if Lake Titicaca is the source, the and the where the puma kind of emerges, right? Like this idea of the sacred cat. They have in Andean philosophy, they have the snake as the underworld, the puma as the world we're in right now, and the condor as the above. So that's like the shamanic three animals that you keep seeing over and over in Peru. They're everywhere. The idea that the puma is kind of emerging out of this lake as like your life essence, your like you right now, present moment life. And the entire like cool way the Incas designed it is like all of this energy moves up to Machu Picchu. So that's like their main astronomical temple that is surrounded by mountains and a river, and like has these powerful points in all directions, and like they built this kind of citadel, like thing there. Is super powerful alignmently placed temple there. And so I knew I had to go from that full moon to the new moon. Those 2 weeks I wanted to travel towards the length of the puma, basically like moving through Cusco, which is shaped like a puma. By the way, they designed the whole city to be in the shape of a cat. And
No.
yes, it's really like they really were very like visual about what, and they have like stonework that has puma paws like all throughout Cusco. You'll see these paws like built into the walls, and I mean it's just real big energy. And then the head of the puma is supposed to be Machu Picchu, so like that's the journey. So I was able to do that. It was really cool. And Machu Picchu was really powerful too, but I don't want to keep talking. I'm going to give you a chance.
So I feel like Machu Picchu might need to be a different
Maybe,
like a second visit. So like the first night you were like activated by the moon and not sleeping.
not sleeping. There was a lot of emotion. I was floating on this lake.
And that was the lunar.
That was a lunar eclipse.
That was the lunar eclipse. And so then the second night, did you get there the night before the eclipse or the night? I mean, I know the eclipse wasn't visible, or was it visible there?
It was not visible from where I was in Peru. It was visible from the other side of South America, but not from where I was.
Okay.
No, I just saw a big, beautiful full moon is what I saw. But I knew the energetics of it. Like,
oh yeah,
it was very lined up. Yeah, I was there for 3 nights. So yeah, I guess I did arrive the night before. Then I had my big emotional day, and then the second day felt like the closure. Like things were kind of integrating a little bit. A lot of this is hard to describe because I don't really. I mean, I journal a lot about it, but it felt more just. Again, like these places are just I don't know, it's like a vibration almost, it's like a vibrational alignment. You can feel that it's just a lake at some level, right? It's just a beautiful lake, and people live on it, and they're fishing, and there's tourism, and it's going on. It's been this way for literally 500, 600, 700, 1,000 years. People have lived out here and done this. And then this other level, if you can tune into it, there's this incredible like presence of energy in these places. And Lake Titicaca is surrounded by all these mystical other spots too that kind of correspond with the energy of the lake. And I tried to visit as many of those as I could. But yes, lots of burial sites on like mountain cliff, and they did a lot of ceremony around this lake. This is where like the kings would come to be buried and things. So again, this idea of death and rebirth in the womb. And they would bury their dead in fetal positions. They would tie the mummies into fetal baby position and place them in these tall stone towers, and on like these high points around the lake. And so I mean, it was obviously like the idea was it was birth into the next form.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. And there was also there, even before the Incas showed up, there were these civilizations there doing that. Like the Incas kind of
this is really ancient.
It's really ancient. Some of it's going back to like what they think is before BC, like 500 BC. Some of these buildings. So these are really old civilizations, and they had these incredible agricultural systems. I mean, as a farmer of some, years, I was mentally just like that. Maybe even more than the lake. I took this tour where they just showed us. It was called like the mystical tour, and they just showed us a bunch of stuff that was like, what? So, like one after the other. Like, what is going on? Yeah, a lot of fertility temples down there too, like big, phalluses, and half the phalluses are like coming out of the ground and half are going in. And it's just like, to fertilize
Wow.
the balance of, earth energy. And also I would say like a lot of this is still active. There's a lot, like when you go to these places, they are old and they're showing you like as ruins, but there's a lot of active offerings like coca leaves and candles and flour. I mean, people are coming there and using these spaces. um, One of the funniest things, we went to this like basically penis temple, and it was just a bunch of big phalluses, and obviously praying for fertility for the crops and all the things. And very, if they didn't build the church right on top of the things, they build a church next to it, right? Because when the Catholics
Oh,
showed up, they were trying to convert as much as possible. So all of these sites were like trying to make them part of their philosophy, religion, to get people.
yeah.
They did that in Europe too. And the legacy of the Spanish here, of course, is horrible. But one of the funniest things was that right next door to this like phallus. I mean, and we're talking like this is a kind of a tourist spot, so like they built like a sidewalk around it with like phalluses in the sidewalk. I mean, it's like this whole thing. It's like a phallus center. And then the guide, I was looking at the church next door. I'm like, it's so funny. There's this big church next to this like obvious fertility temple. And he's like, yeah, look at the very top. And like the very top of the church, like where the cross is like a big phallus. Like the church themselves put like these dicks on the top of their church to try to get people, I think, to like come in or like to get
Oh,
the
wow.
energy.
So interesting.
But it was hilarious. It was like, I have never seen that before. Oh my God. And then you drive a little bit and you get to this other spot, and they were like, get out of the car. And from the ground, it didn't really look like anything. It just looked like some ditches, kind of. And then luckily he had a drone. The guide had a drone, so he flew it up in the air, and from the air you can see these incredibly complex geometric formation, like forms, like multiple circles within a circle, very big, like an acre across, 5 acres across, 7 acres across, all for miles on this
Wow.
on this whole plain. And what they were agricultural, and so they designed them like the outer ones had less frost protection than the inner ones, and there was water in between all of it. So they were like raised beds, permanent raised beds, and these incredibly complicated, what really looked like kind of crop circle
Yeah.
geometric shapes. And these were dating back to BC. Like these were so old.
So they
And
they were basically they understood microclimate and
they
were
understood it, and not only that, but they understood like hydration, like because this is a dry area and we were in the dry season, and all of these had water in them. So they were able to tap and channel water, and it's still working like 1,000 years later. I mean, it's really
I
incredible.
mean, you think about like we think about like Roman aquifers
Yeah.
and stuff and like how amazing that is, but it's like it I just feel like what a ingenuity is global, and it's so
Yeah.
great to hear about, just absolutely as even yeah, like it is cool. Engineering is cool. So
Mm-hmm.
like designing an aquifer is definitely cool, but to be partnering with plants like
Yeah.
agricultural, you know,
I mean, the
infrastructure like
fact, I mean,
that.
in my little farming world, permaculture is a word that would be used for what I was looking at. But this was so far beyond
Oh
anything I've
yeah.
ever seen. Like, it's so incredibly advanced. I mean, and
Yes.
they're still working, still retaining water. And there was one farm still growing on it, like actually actively farming on it. And we couldn't go see it, but he took like a drone shot over it, and he was like, yeah, all kinds of plants and growth. I mean, it was just super healthy looking. It was, yeah, mind blowing. And then you go further down the road, now you're getting closer to Bolivia. And there's this thing called the Amaru Gate. And it's literally just like I mean, it is the most mystical thing I mean, it's really flat country, like with kind of surrounding mountains, but this plain, is kind of what we're driving through is pretty dry and flat. And then you get to this place where all of a sudden it just like juts out of the ground, like this red rock. It looks like southern Utah. I mean, it's very like dramatically different. And one of the big uplifts is like a sheath of rock coming out, and onto it is this huge gate. I mean, we're talking, I don't even know, 50, 60 feet tall, carved into the stone. This big, like rectangular gate kind of like carved in. And then in the middle, it has another like notch square in it. And it looks just like a door. And you walk up to it and you're just like this itty bitty little thing standing in this massive doorway. And it is so powerful. I mean, that you don't even need to be sensitive to feel the power coming off that thing. It was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. It was a
Wow.
radiating. And our tour went there, and there was already people there, like with their crystals out, and like it's known to the indigenous people. This is like going back again pre-Inca, as an interdimensional gateway. So they said that the gods came walking through this all the time, back and forth, and we're giving them instructions on how to live. And yeah, so this is like very powerful. Um, yeah, I guess well known. I would say, I don't know if it's aliens or spirits or whatever, but it's a doorway. And on the other side of this like uplift is just it's just empty, but it's just I can't even describe it. I took a video of it. I'll try to post it somewhere and link it to it in the notes here so people can see it. He took a drone video of it with me sitting there, and it is really mind blowing. But there was a shaman, a young shaman there, who was working for tips, right? But he instructed us to make offerings with coca leaves and do some cleansing, and then approach the gate in like 3 different ways. And you press your third eye, and then you press your womb chakra to it. And
Wow.
yeah, and that was very specific. Like that's what you do on this gate. It's the third eye in the womb. And I think, were you the one who sent me like the chakras are always paired? So you don't work on one without the other. So your third eye in the
Oh,
womb for the
interesting.
pair. Yeah. Those are the two paired chakras. And I didn't even get that until later. Someone sent it to me. I was like, oh my gosh, those are the two things that we pressed against the gate. And
It's I feel like the in that like strange interconnectedness of everything way.
mm,
Um while you let's see, when was I there? There was a big old moon. So when was it was around that time. It was that time. I drove down to Sitka, so I was on Cascade Head
mm,
at the same time
nice.
that you were at the lake hiking around doing stuff. And then one of the other students, I was just a student, I was just taking a class, which is really fun. But um, for whatever reason, she's like, oh, there's a book I think you need. And we weren't even at the same table. Like it was really interesting. It was like, why are you telling me about this book? And she's telling me about it. I'm like, oh, I am interested in that book. And she's like, I'm getting chills right now just thinking
Mm,
about you reading it.
wow.
And I'm like, wow, like that's anyway. So, long story short, the books that I'm listening to them instead of reading them, but the is all about this. It's taking place. It was written, started in it's called the Wild Grove series. I'd never heard of them, but it's a story of this druidic kind of like grove, which is another like both. It means both. I'm getting it. It means both the trees and like the group of people that tend to that
Right.
power spot, and the
Yeah.
whole like world of it. And like it's like a thin spot between the worlds, right? Like these interdimensional, and they've been continually holding this gate, and they know that there's these other groves
Mm,
globally, right?
mm.
And so anyway, I'm just I'm feeling like I have this fiction version of your real life experience going through my head as you're telling me all this stuff. I'm
Yeah.
like totally tracking it, totally like it totally makes sense. Like, and just like, yeah, like this whole like extra dimensional world, if you yeah. Anyway, so that's
Yes, no, it's exactly what it felt like. I mean, it really did feel like one of those places. And again, as a tourist, you don't really know what to do with that energy. I mean, I was really glad there was the shaman there that we could pay because he like set a tone. He was like, okay,
yeah,
we're not just talking anymore. Like everyone take your hats off. Everyone put your phones away. You know what I mean? He like set things like
yes,
sacred. We're gonna tune in. And even though it was just like a brief thing, it really helped because everybody kind of dropped in. Like, and one of the women I was with on the tour who was just from Peru, just, sightseeing with her sister, like started bawling. I mean, it was emotional. It was a powerful place and you could feel it. And I just went into full like, oh, I know what to do. I kind of did my 4 directions, offerings, and he just was watching me like, oh, how interesting, this girl's doing her own thing. But I couldn't help it. It was so strong. It was like, I need to honor the 4 directions. I need to, after I left, after I did the gate and I climbed back down, so you have to kind of climb up to it. It's really big. I just felt like that natural, like giving thanks and praise, and up and above and down below, and yeah, that again, it was all tied up with the lake though, because from the gate you can see the lake.
oh,
So
interesting.
yeah, the lake is huge. By the way, this is a very very big lake. This is not a small thing. It spans 2 countries.
Oh,
And so
wow, yeah.
it's Bolivia on one side and Peru on the other, and Bolivia's got a bunch of magic on its side too to check out. But there, yeah, so it was just a really powerful little set of days there. I was down there for like 5 days, and every day felt like it was just supercharged with Lake Titicaca. And at the end of that tour, we went to the lake itself, and like I was able to walk along the shore and like put my feet in the water. It was more like a beach instead of
Hmm.
like floating on top of this deep lake. And that was like a whole nother energy, of just like very gentle and yeah, I hadn't walked on the beach since I left home, so it was weird to walk on
Ah,
this kind of long, rocky beach with the lake there. It was really amazing. And I don't know, again, like I feel like I'm still very much in it. I don't feel like that lesson is done. I feel like this whole energy of Peru in this valley, this sacred valley that I'm in, is connected to the lake, and it's just working. And so I feel like I'm not like in a hurry to leave because I feel like activations are still going on, but it's also kind of challenging. It's brought up a lot.
yeah.
It's not
Well,
like just pure fun and games. It's kind of like if there's heaviness in that chakra, that's what you're going to experience. And I think for me, of all the chakras I have in my body, this is the one that I sensed was having the most like complicated. I have a most complicated relationship with.
and also just like astrologically, you did not choose the easiest possible moment to do this work. I mean, because I was hanging out with our mutual friend on my way home, and we had both had this crazy experience. Like I don't know if I can come up with what day it was, but we had both had this on the same day. And I'm not gonna tell her story, but like my story was I kind of couldn't fall asleep, which is unusual for me.
Mhm.
I'm been gifted with being able to fall asleep very easily generally. And if I'm have insomnia, it's usually that I wake up and can't go back to sleep. But like usually when it's bedtime, as you know, it's early and it's time to go to bed. And it's just like I it's obnoxious. But like within 5 minutes of getting in bed, I'm usually asleep. Like it's ridiculous. So it's very unusual for me to not be able to fall asleep. And no shit, I couldn't fall asleep. But the thing that was so crazy is that I started to believe that I was dying. And so part of my head is like, dude, you are just overtired like a toddler gets and they can't fall asleep once they get overtired. Like I just missed that window of going to sleep. I'm like, you're cool. But then the other part of me is like, no, I think I might be dead by morning. I know,
Very
no
dramatic.
kidding. Was like had this like and like my body, I was just like, oh my God. And I'm like, what are they? And then like I'm like, what are they gonna do? They're gonna have to call Joe and tell them I'm dead. And like I mean, it was completely crazy. But part of me was like, this is completely crazy. And the other part of me was like, no, that's just the way it is. And, and then when I woke up in the morning, I'm like, and I kind of felt bad physically suddenly. I'm like, I think maybe I'm having a heart attack. I even like Googled, like, how do you know can you just have a heart attack while you're laying in bed? And
Oh
like,
my goodness.
keep in mind, I'm just down taking a fun class. Like, this isn't
Yeah,
like,
right.
right. Like, I mean, Cascade Head's a pretty powerful place, but
It is. It is.
this was the day after the it was the day after the eclipse. It was the day
That's when my adjustment happened too, was the day after. Yeah.
it was. And anyway, so I just like, when I woke up in the morning, I was like, phew, I survived. But I'm like, why? It just feels so much better. But anyway, I'm just saying. So there I am, not doing anything, just taking a fun class, and I'm like, I think I'm dying, and you're like
Wow.
at the the center of the chakra for the whole planet.
I know.
While that's happening, you
Yes.
again, your badass status
I
is
know.
confirmed.
But that has occurred to me several times of like, there is something like a little off about how extreme I do things. Like I don't just like try to take gentle steps towards this new reality. It's like, I'm going to sell everything I own, 2 backpacks. I'm going like into a country I don't speak the language, the most powerful chakra that I know I have the biggest problem with. Like, and I'm going on an eclipse on a full moon. Like I just picked like the whammies, and I just show up and I'm like, all right. And what do I expect to have happen? Like what really is like, it's so intense. The energy is so intense. And this whole eclipse window has been very intense. And
Yes, yes, yes.
I'm in like a very supercharged, energetic place. So yeah. So
But
today I said I was tired, but I think it's just like coming out of this eclipse window is like, ooh,
well, and
powerful.
don't you feel like, I I don't know if you believe this, but I absolutely believe that when we do our work, it has a universal component. You're doing that work. You're like, yeah, like, it's not foolishness to do things so intensely. I kind of think that's what you are wired for. Wait, you're quiet for me now. Oh no. I'm trying to see if I can get to more bars. Is it, well, you're moving though.
Oh, sorry about that, everybody. My microphone died, and I just heard my microphone die, so we had to pause the recording. Hopefully, we are back with the Nurture Pod. If you're just tuning in, I've been rambling about the second chakra in Peru.
Oh my God.
And the full moon and the eclipse, and so we're talking like 2 weeks ago now. So we'll do another one about the actual autumn equinox and Machu Picchu and all that. 'Cause that's a whole nother story. This is going back in time a little bit to recap. That was my first solid month, and now I'm kind of 6 weeks in on this journey. So
Oh,
yeah, it'll
it's,
be this next full moon coming up in early October will be 2 months. So
wow.
yeah, yeah, and I'm still in the same kind of place I was at the lake. I'm like, I still exactly know what I'm doing. I don't exactly know, what this is all about. But I think really the lesson of the chakra, if I had to recap it, would be it's kind of Zen. It's like be in the present moment,
Mm.
like feel what you have to feel. Don't run away. And definitely, it's all about intuition. Like your intuition is 100% right. And I know for me, growing up in America, and for other people, I'm sure in Western culture, it's like our brains are so powerful. We want to plan, we want to think, we want to figure it out, we want to know. We want to know what we're doing, why we're doing it, what's the rewards, what's, all the things. And this chakra is so infuriating because it's like you don't get to know. It's a mystery. It's like the moment by moment unfolding. And if you're tuned into your intuition, you can kind of just feel if it feels right or not. It's like really learning to trust yourself. And solo travel is also new for me, right? So I've never traveled by myself before for this length of time in a foreign country. So that also is really like pushing me to look at my mental patterns, my emotional stuff, like why am I not in the present moment? Because when I'm in the present moment, everything's great. You know, I mean, usually very
Ah,
peaceful, you know.
yeah.
And I'm usually only upset if I'm in the past, thinking about what I just gave up, or, you know, like mooning about Oregon and blah, blah, blah. Or in the future, like, what am I going to do? You know, what's going to happen to me? What, you know, what's going on? Those are my two, like, places that kind of get dark, like, for me and this journey. And if I'm just present, I find myself totally relaxed, you know, having a great time, engaging with people, even if I don't speak the language, you know, because it's an
Oh,
energy.
yeah.
You know, it's like you're
Yes.
smiling
Yes.
and you're relaxed and you're having a good, people feel it and they're like, hey, what's like, everybody vibes. And you walk through the city that you don't know in that form, and you just notice all the beauty, all the craftsmanship, all the culture, the language sounds amazing, the food is amazing. You know, so all of it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I get to be here. I get to be
Yes.
in this most incredible sacred valley, is a powerful place. And if I'm in my head, I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing? Am I doing this right? I can't speak the language. Am I, you know, like, am I a jerk? Like, what? There's so many stories going on, and they do relate to adolescence. Like, oh my gosh, does that feel like an adolescent part of me? Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't fit in. Nobody likes me. You know, I don't look right. I don't sound right. I'm not sure you know, what my role here is. And the thing is, I don't have a role here. It's Peru. Like, I'm new. I'm just a traveler. You know, there's nothing
Yes.
for me to do other than just appreciate, like, that I get to be here, you know, and how beautiful and powerful it is, and really old, and the history of it, and like, it's incredible, you know. And I can go off along about that too, like, you know, but I feel like that is the kind of the core teaching that I'm gleaning, and it's difficult. It's a difficult teaching to
To just be
present
present in the present moment.
and not worry about the future and not dwell in the past, and just be connected to what's going on, like, right around you, and to be tuned into also to your, like, emotions and energy. And if you're, you know, if you're upset or you're sad, or like, to honor that, and not, you know, to try to, like, take the moment and pause, because so much of travel is moving too, you know. And it's
Uh,
an it's an industry like anything else. So they're trying to move people through these experiences, you know, like, do this, do this, do this. Let's go. Next group, you know. And I understand that. I was in tourism in Oregon myself, but it is. I mean, wow! It's just like, there's so many layers to it. But just basically, it's, um, yeah, just trying to drop in as much as possible. So, like, where you are, look up at the mountains. It's all about the mountains here. They believe in the Apus, which are like the spirits of the mountains, and that is their kind of divinity. And so you just can look up at these peaks that are surrounding you and be like, wow, you know, I'm up 12, 13,000 feet. I'm in this energy of elevation, you know. And it's and there's so much about this culture I didn't understand before I came here, and I really just, you know, feel like it's amazing. It's really mind blowing. Like, your mind's being blown all the time. Like, whoa, that's true. Like, one of the things I want to share, just in the sense of, like, I think when we were brought up in Western culture, we're not taught anything about South America. I wasn't taught anything about it.
mm-mm.
In the, or only in the vaguest, like, broadest strokes, you know, like, there was Incas, like, they grew potatoes, or it wasn't anything about who they really were, what they were doing, how advanced they were. But when we got to like, in Cusco, there's this main temple, which of course a church was built right on top of it, but it was the temple of the sun, and the sun is real big in the cosmology. The mountains, the sun, the stars. The sun is like kind of their direct, like, if the Inca is the king, like, it's the direct divinity, like, associated with royalty, like, so the temple of the sun's a big deal, and it's right in the heart of Cusco. And they built a church, like, literally on top of it, like, on top of the foundations of this giant temple. And they plastered over the Inca stonework. And the stonework of the Inca is so incredibly exact. You can't put a paper clip in between these stones. They're 500 years old. You can't, I mean, there's no mortar. They just cut them exactly right. And they lean them in such a way that earthquakes don't knock them down. I mean, they're genius level architecture. So you've got these incredible foundations, and then the earthquake did happen somewhere like not that long ago, whatever, 1850 or something, like well after all the Incan stuff had been kind of broken down. And they revealed this church, all this plaster fell off, and they revealed that they had plastered over this like temple. And so then they got to work being like, whoa, like we have to excavate what this is. And they realized it was the temple of the sun. And like it was like one of the main temples of this entire civilization. Like all roads would lead to Rome, all roads in South America would lead to Cusco, all the way from the base of Chile to the top of Ecuador.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean the entire side of the continent was one united
Revered.
revered, and they had roads, and the roads would go to Cusco. This was like the center of it all. And in that temple, this is the point I'm trying to make here. In that temple, there are many, many rooms for, and then the guide we had was talking about there's like a thunder god and this god. And I was like kind of perplexed. I was like, oh, I thought they only had like I thought there was like this was the sun temple. Like, why are they all these other gods like have rooms in here? And he's like, well, for all the conquered people that the Inca kind of took over, they would let them have like their own room. So when they traveled to Cusco, their god was represented like in the pantheon. Like it was all in this temple. I was like,
Wow.
super inclusive, right? Like the idea that
Yes.
like all these gods would be like it represented the empire. Like everybody's gods was welcome in this temple, and this was the main temple of the whole deal. And so it just kind of, and then they had this oval shape that was it's all of course the whole thing was made out of gold too, which of course the Spanish completely stripped and stole. But like this was all plated gold because they had very very vast deposits of gold, and they didn't use gold as for money. They used it just for decoration and for like spiritual purposes. And they had this recreation of one of these big, art pieces that they would have in this temple. And there's this big kind of blob in the middle. It's like a big oval. And they're like, this is really interesting because you can see like here's the sun, the moon, different things in their cosmology. And then there's this big blob kind of. And they said, but what that blob represented to them was the unifying field. Like it was like the thing that connected everything. So they understood there was one energy that connected everything, and that
so like all of the gods were aspects of the one big giant energy.
It didn't have a name. It didn't have like a form. It was just kind of this kind of blob shape, but it's like super important to them because that is like their understanding that everything's connected and that it doesn't matter really what you call it. It's all one thing, which is super highly evolved, like
yes
philosophical and spiritual thinking for an empire that they were, because they were my mind was just blown by that. Like I had never, I mean, that is such high level stuff, I mean, for that they were living in. And then it kind of shows up in the way they ran their empire, like they really believed that this is all connected.
So Joe and I were just talking, must have been Sunday, because during this, when he's back in school, so we barely talk to each other in the morning because he's got to leave so early. But we were talking about how, I think because I'm listening to these books too, but like the whole like Christian Abrahamic thing is, like the first commandment is thou shalt have no other gods before me. And I'm like, they're right there, they're acknowledging that there are other gods. And Joe had this like mind blowing, he's like, I never thought of it as that.
Oh yeah.
Because of his upbringing in, the South, the Southern Baptist. And like, he's like, oh, it's right there, like right there. It's acknowledging that there is more than just this one God. But what it's been turned into in our current thing is that there is God, and then everything else is the devil. Yeah. And that's not that old, really.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, did you know that today is the rapture?
I did not. I missed that in Peru.
I know. Anyway, yeah, that's another little thing. But I'm not I don't believe in God in that way, so I wouldn't be one of the ones that gets vacuumed up. But I'm still hearing traffic and not like massive accidents as people get slurped out of their vehicles or anything. So Um, it's what anyway that the rapture also is extra biblical, right? It's like 100 years, I don't know, 200 years old, maybe less than 200 years old, this idea that of the rapture. But back to the thing of like how enlightened, right? Because what did the idea of Christianity was that you should that not like, oh, how do you find your way, and like you could have ethics and everybody's got their own spiritual trip, right? That's
Mm.
not what the Abrahamic situation is. The Abrahamic situation is you believe in this one narcissistic psychopath or we crush you, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a dark. I mean, when you're here and you're going through the museums, and I like to go to learn about stuff, it's like there's this whole kind of beautiful, like fertility aspect, moons, and I mean, the philosophy of the Quechua is really lovely. Like I really resonate with their art, how they represent the divine feminine is very powerful. It's Pachamama, you know, so they're really into the Earth Mother, and very open sexually, like a lot of erotic art, um, you know, and it's very beautiful. And then you get to like where the Spaniards show up, and the museum just changes completely to this like really dark, these paintings that they have of these like, you know, this medieval kind of Spaniard energy of the conquistador is, I mean, it's just paintings of blood. Either it's saints being pierced in blood and guts, or it's like images of them conquering and killing natives with their spears and knives. Or, I mean, it's just bloody and dark. I mean, it really is like you walk from one era and then you see the conquistadors show up and all the art changes, and now it's like the Spaniards have taken over. And I mean, I know it's a part of the history, and but it is, the energetic of it is shockingly different. And it's
And
a really yeah, I think the overall, it's violent. It's very violent and bloody.
yes.
And it's, this is like their religious art too. This is, you know, these
Oh
aren't
yeah,
paintings,
totally.
these
The
are for their
depictions of Christ are
uh,
like,
yeah, pierced. I mean, they were really into the bloody saints in Christ. Like, ugh, and it's just really, I can't even really spend time in those rooms. They're very hard for me to be in. I kind of
the
like skip past that part because I mean, I guess they're painted well, they're beautifully done, but well,
so
the
an
imagery is
interesting
so
factoid I have,
it's torture and murder. You know, it's the imagery.
yes. The
Yeah.
the thing that, sorry, I feel compelled to add this. So when you look at the history of breastfeeding
Mm.
and you look at where people were experimenting with artificial feeding, and it's really early, right? So
Mm-hmm.
one of those places is during the Viking Age.
Mm.
They were doing like artificial, like feeding them using like a goat horn and giving them like animal milk instead of
Mm-hmm.
having. And but the other place is that amongst the nobility in Spain during the era of the conquistadors,
Mm.
they had wet nurses. The noble women were just producing the babies, but they were not really raising their children, and so they would give them to a wet nurse. And then at 8 months old, which developmentally is a really key moment for
Mm-hmm.
attachment, they would that's when they would be weaned, and then
Mm.
they would be given to somebody else so that the wet nurse could nurse somebody else. So one, you have this wound of being removed from your mother,
Mm.
given to this other mother, removed from that mother. And then
Mm.
at around age 5, they were often fostered with other noble families. But this is really more in terms of less like being fostered and more about mutually assured destruction. They were hostages. Hey, we have your kid, you've got my kid, so we're not going to kill each other. So they were basically hostages in this other house. So you know, so basically when you look at what are the developmental needs, you know, by the time you're 5, all of those people that became conquistadors and went out profiteering across the globe, all of them had had 3 enormous
Mm.
um traumatic disconnection. I think that they were probably completely out of their minds.
Mm.
And like,
Wow.
and so then, overlaid with all of that is the, and I think it probably came out of, I don't know, I need to like research more about it, because I know that like during the Dark Ages, like the Vatican, like the seat of the Pope moved to Provence, and so like there was all this in like, you know, anyway, there's all this crazy stuff that happened during the Dark Ages, and the Spanish version of what Christianity was going to be won out over what these other versions of how that was all going to go. And so, and it was very brutal, and out of that comes the, you know, the Inquisition and all that stuff. But I think it's very related to, I guess where I'm going back to is it's like the total detour from egalitarianism and sacred life, sacred mother. And so you have, what I'm hearing from you is like you have this like a society that is like revering the divine feminine, and in comes these horribly wounded, dangerous,
Yeah.
like, yeah, without mercy. And
No mercy, of feeling very, self-righteous, and of course in their cause. I mean, we can see the shadows of what was then happening now.
yes,
I mean,
yes,
this is not, it's old history, but it's replaying itself. Like
yes,
the mentality of the conquistador is, like, yeah, basically we're right, you're wrong, and everything shall fall before us under the sword if you don't agree with us. And what's fascinating, I guess, is just what came before that was just kind of a mind-blowingly advanced civilization that had so many democratic and egalitarian principles kind of built into their whole spiritual practices, and a deep reverence for nature, especially. That was like, they really, really were tuned into the place they were in. And inclusivity, like you can bring your God, it's okay. Like we understand that all things are one. Like we'll just join the temple, like we'll just all worship the energy that is nature. So I think and I know that there's big wounds in the second chakra around all of this, right? Like we all have
yes,
these in our mother line. This is the mother line chakra we're talking about. And whether it's Mother Earth or our own mothers or our own ancestry, I mean, I can feel the wounding in my own ancestry just because I don't have the deep connection to place that Peruvians do. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
their source is going down, 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 down into this valley, into this mountain. I mean, even if most of them are practicing Catholics, and they're not doing shamanism or whatever, you can feel it. They're very proud and very connected to where they are from, and their languages, and a lot of them speak Quechua still. So it's just this is what travel is for. It's really to try to get you into these other spaces where you can break down the dominant culture that you're from in different angles, and see, like I was telling my friend last night, I was on the phone, I was like, I mean, yes, they have economic poverty here. I see that. But there is a poverty of my spirit that I'm recognizing that I don't have as an American, this deep connection to place, where my ancestors were here, and the practices and the roads they walked, and I don't, that is a poverty that I have. And I think we're trying to make up for it with all the economic grabbing and consuming. So when we talk about nurture culture, let's wrap this up. It's been a long talk, but like,
yeah,
bringing it back to just why we're talking about this at all is to understand we have to create a new culture. Like we can't do what we're doing to the planet anymore. Certainly the extremes are everywhere right now. I mean, it's so extremely bad right now. It does kind of feel like we're in the conquistador moment of just like,
yes,
men with swords going wild for power and money. They're kind of out of their minds. And then there's this whole kind of religious zealotry that's interwoven with it,
yes,
which is very
yes,
hypocritical, because they're not, thou shalt not kill, and thou shalt not, all the things are, they're just like, whatever, well, if you don't agree with us, we'll kill you, which feels very similar to what the conquistadors were kind of on about. But
yes.
so I don't know, it's an interesting moment that we all find ourselves in. And I think, to source ourselves in that there are other choices. Like this hasn't been the only philosophy on the planet. There are deeper roots that existed before the conquistadors and Christianity went forth
Yes,
with this
yes,
very
yes.
violent kind of mission. And we are living in the aftermath of that violence, and we're living in the legacy of that violence in America, and they're living it in all of South America, and we're all still grappling with it, trying to heal it, trying to figure it out. How do we find our way back or find our way forward to something more connected, more understanding that we're all connected, and that this really, the earth herself is the only thing giving life to this experience that we're here, and
yes.
So I think, I don't know. I'm fumbling with it. I'm fumbling around with it myself. I don't have all the answers, and this is not the podcast for answers. This is like the podcast where we talk about it and just try to think about where we are in our lives as women. And we're both in our 50s, and we're in a position, I think, in the privileged position of being able to kind of reflect and look back and think about what we've been brought up in, and then what we want to create, maybe for future generations, or at least start to plant the seeds of moving forward. And
or like, is it like the baton, right? Like I think about there are these tendrils, even in the wounded populace. There are these tendrils that is what nurture culture is. It's like the mycelium of co-conspiring, nurturing, that is like, there is this web, and it's like when you drop into the present moment, you are connected to that web, and there is no time and space, right? Like,
and there is really no figuring it out. Like, I guess that's my other piece that I'm getting.
It's not here.
Yeah, it's not here. It is a deep, it is when you drop in, if you could stop this head stuff long enough to drop into the living earth, the energy of the earth, which is very strong. You don't need to figure it out. Like you'll be guided. There's a lot of guidance being offered for people who are willing to show up. And the guidance doesn't look like, here's a book, follow the rules. Right. The guidance is your body is a guidance system. And you have to remember how to use it.
Yes.
And that I am struggling with right now. I mean, I understand the concept of it, but like it is so, it's such a journey. So I guess that's,
oh my God,
it's a good place to end.
That is a beautiful place to end. That's, my beloved friend. What a privilege. I miss you. I feel like you're right there.
Right. Want to go have dinner and hang out. Yeah, I'm on this mission, so I'm just gonna keep on keeping on. I'm not sure what my next step is right now. I'm listening to my guidance system, and I'm trusting that I'll know when I know. It's such a hard thing to explain to people, and it's a hard thing to even for me to explain to myself, but that's what I'm doing. That's what we're all doing, I think. That's what
we're all doing. Yeah.
Yep. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. I apologize for having taken so long to get to this podcast, but hopefully we'll do another one while I'm still in this Airbnb. So we'll drop two kind of back to back, because Machu Picchu is a whole story I want to tell.
Oh, I can't wait. I feel like it's like, I'm ready for the sequel already.
All right. I love you so much.
Big love.